Welcome everybody. I'm about to do a demonstration on our Blue Cockatoo. I'm going to show you just the basic beginnings on how to do this cockatoo so that everybody that thinks they can't paint will be able to turn around and do it. But let's get started with the basics. And what we actually do is on the instruction sheet, you'll be given a stencil. So the stencil comes on the instruction sheet, and what you start doing is with your blank canvas, I just use Kitty's chalk and I draw in the shape of the outside line of the cockatoo. So you start drawing roughly where you think your cockatoo is going to sit on the canvas. So all I'm drawing in here, it's very, very rough. It's just giving a bit of a shape so that I know where I'm going to put my paints. And on this, it's just very basic. So then the next part, now be very conscious of this. This is a really hard part of it. You get your paints. Now I've only used, for the moment, 4 paints. In total we use 5 paints on this. At the moment I'm using white, blue, purple and black. Doesn't matter which white, blue, purple and black you use, but they're the colours that are the best suited for this blue cockatoo. And the reason I call it a blue cockatoo, it's really a black cockatoo in nature, and when the sun shines on it, they have this beautiful blue gloss to their feathers. In nature, you either get a blue gloss or you get a brown gloss. So a black cat is actually a brown cat. So this is the really hard part, so I hope you're all watching. This is the start of the magic. So you get your paints, and we're going to actually randomly place the paint in that blocked out section. So it all goes inside here. You could do the whole canvas if you like, but you're wasting paint by going outside of this. So it's really hard. So okay, you ready? You're watching? You're watching? Okay. Da 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 da. Get our elevator music going. So this is really all you're doing. You're just blocking it out. Now that I'm doing this, you can actually look at the big cockatoo and you can see it's sort of going, oh, hang on. All this is starting to fall into place as to how this is done. I've created this process just so the non-painter can actually realise they can paint. It's an introduction to paint, and I want you to have steps so that you're going to climb the ladder of creativity. So this is just putting the paint on. So the colours are just so randomly going on. But when you look at the stripes on the cockatoo that I have there, you can see where they've actually come on. And it seems like a lot of paint. Now what's actually happening here is there is a process to this, so that's why you need to see this first bit, because everyone thinks that you start from the background and you work your way to the foreground. But this one, you're actually starting in the middle. So I think that's enough there now. Wow. Okay, you ready to see the magic? Now what do you do? Okay, now what do we do? Okay, now we just get a big brush. And everybody's got a big brush in their cupboard or wherever. These are really great. We manufacture those, but you can have a big brush in your cupboard. Now carefully watch. This is a really important part. You go down, you go up, you go down, you go up. And as you can see, I'm not mixing the colours, I'm pushing them and blending them. And that's what's creating the stripes on this.
It's got all colours on it.
Yeah, it has all the colours on it, and they're what's going to make the shape. I can teach you how to paint the feathers and go into all the fine detail. The little blue wren there is something that takes me a week to paint. This takes just a couple of hours, and you just push the paints around so you have your stripes. And as you can see on the painting in the background, you can see how simple I've created the stripes. So that is the start of it. And then from there, what do I do next? Next, it has to dry. So on the one in the background, because we've let that one dry, you can see the stripes. So can you see the difference on this one? You can see the stripes in it, you can see the stripes on this. So you can see how simple, all of a sudden it's like, I can actually see that the process is going to work. The next step that we do is you take your stencil that's included in the instructions that you have, and you create a carbon. So everybody's done a carbon at school where you put on this you put your chalk on the back, real nice and thick, and then you put it onto your completed blue stripes. And this way then we're actually going to put the background paint on, and it cuts into the feathers. So the feathers will all be painted. You're covering over the excess areas that you don't need. So on here you can see where it's cut in, and it's cut in all the excess feathers on that. I will actually have to draw the cockatiel onto this because I didn't print out anything big enough. And then after we've drawn that on and cut in the background, I'll then be putting in the feathers. Now on that you can see that it has the black feathers and the black outlines. So I paint the black outlines on, do the black outlines, and you just zigzag them on. The beak, I do one big egg and paint the big egg on, and then you do a tear. So the tear comes down and you do the tear. Got to put up with me dancing, you can't hear me. So now you've seen the start of it. We put the dots on, we blended it through. So now we're going to get rid of, I've mixed the four colours of the blue, the black, the purple, and you come up with whatever is satisfactory to you for a background colour. And then all it is you've cut in from putting your stencil on of your, you've drawn the stencil on and you're cutting in. The beauty of this is that there's no mistakes, because if you go outside your lines or you look at it and you think that your beak isn't quite good enough, you paint over it with your background paint. It's like a rubber in reverse. So can you see how the feathers have started to come forward? The face has started to come forward on this. Look, oh my goodness, his beak was a little bit crazy there. I'll just rub it out. It's just all part of that process. So we come up here, we do the feathers, and all I'm doing is painting up to those chalk lines. Paint up to the chalk lines. I didn't put the paint up high enough. It doesn't matter. You're going to cover it, you're going to do it. It's all part of this loose effect. So can you see the cockatoo starting to come alive? So did you see how simple that was? I've all of a sudden got the shape of a cockatoo there. And that really is the hard part of it. Once you've drawn in your lines, you're just tracing over those. And once you've blocked this in, you've got the shape. So you can see between these two here, look at the background, it's cut in all the feathers, you've got all your striping to give you your shading. So you'll paint all that in, block it all in, and do your canvas. Very important to make sure that you paint all your edges on the outside edges. That way then you don't have to frame it. You can just hang it straight on the wall as is. So a little bit later I'll turn around and start getting into, I'll paint the rest of that background. But for starters, I'm going to show you the next step. So with this, I've actually blended some of the brown, some of the sienna, and the white. to give me the beak area. So I'm just going to put in the beak, and don't worry if you go over the outside of it, because you can just cut it in with the background paint that you've still got. So any mistakes, there's no mistakes. Okay, so we've got the beak there, he's drying. We've got the eye there, he's drying. So let's turn around and maybe put in some of the feathers. So this is, when you put the feathers in, you just use your plain black. So you use the black, and it's really easy. And it's just a zigzag. So as I'm doing this, can you see that on the big one? So I do the black first, because the black gives it a dimension. So you do the black first, and then I use that same brown, bit more white over the top, and that gives it a bit more dimension, a bit more shading. And then white over the top of that. So we're just starting to put the feathers in. And you can see how quick it just comes together. So in this short period of time of just watching it, all of a sudden you've gone, oh, he's really coming together. So I'm just following the chalk lines that were drawn onto here. So that's how simple it is. You put your chalk lines on and you're just following it. So it's just showing you that anybody can paint this. So you can see from this one, just watching this one grow. So I've done all the bases, so now I'm making him grow. So this is just putting like a bit of shadow in.
So is this going to end up looking like that one?
Yeah, it'll look close like it. They all have their own personality.
Yeah, of course.
So, yep, it'll look the same. I've painted 3 of them in the last 5 days. So by putting a little bit on here, it's a bit of the, like giving it light and shadows. Yeah, you can see that on there. So you're sort of able to watch it grow, but you know what the end result is going to look like.
No.
So you see that little bit of easy blending going on there? Okay, so that's sort of bringing the beak in. I just would like everybody to be able to feel comfortable painting. That's why we created this. So then the next step that I do, once I've put in all the black feathers, we then start the reason I do it just above the black is to give it a little bit more so you're not covering over the black, you're just going above it. So you can still see the black on there, you can still see it on that one. So it's really simple, anyone can do this. So I'm just painting on top of the feathers, which is painting the top of the highlights. And this cockatoo is only made up of 5 colours, that's it. Everything is just all blended together. I'm just putting a little bit of lightening on it just to give the beak a bit of a roundness to it. I use the back of the brush to actually put the dots in around the eye. So it's just a matter of dotting it and dotting it and dotting it. It's just... So you got your dots in. Real simple. There's only 5 paints in this colour scheme, and what I'm doing here at the moment, this is all the background colours. And see how here I actually, oh you're right, you know, I'm just going to rub out a few of the bits, as to say. So by using the same background paint, I'm rubbing out any accidents or mistakes that I may have made. So I may feel that the beak just needs to be trimmed that little bit. So see how just doing that little bit of trim, and voila, it's all trimmed up. And another little hint too is if you take your camera and you take a photo of it and then look at it and you go, oh, his beak's a bit puffy up the top up here. So see there, he's got a little bit of a wart on his nose. I've just got rid of that, and so that's trimmed it all up. And that's why I've used the background paint to cut in, because it covers over all the initial stuff. Cool.